Hello and welcome to this home cinema myth busting series. I hope you enjoyed part one, native 4K versus fake 4K. We'll now move on to part two, the truth about our projector lenses. I'm Christopher Mullins. I look after the home cinema projectors from Sony, and I'm the European product manager. And I'll be taking you through the content today. So, just to give you a little run through of what we're going to talk about today. So, firstly, we're going to talk to you about why size really does matter when it comes to lenses. We'll run through the lenses in our home cinema projector lineup and the key details. I'll talk about spherical aberration and why aspherical lenses elements are in particular special, and a final short summary with a bonus part on what else affects on-screen clarity. So let's get into it. So let's start with some basics about lenses. With lenses, it is true that in most circumstances, bigger is certainly better. Especially for image quality and especially relating to projector lenses. So why is that? Well, there are certain characteristics that affect all lenses. Essentially, in the center, you get a good part of the lens, which is good for focus, and the area around it, you get a lens that's less than optimal part of the lens towards the edge, so you get slightly worse focus. So the bigger the lens, the bigger the good part of the lens can be used. So for the image that you're projecting, so the image that you're projecting can fit within that good area of the lens without compromise. Granted, this doesn't take into account the panel size, which affects the size of the image passing through the lens, but in a like-for-like situation, bigger is certainly better. So let's have a look at the lens lineup for Sony home cinema projectors. There are three models that relate to our three product areas, as you can see in this photo. We have the Sony HD lens, which is used in our HW series, our full HD model range. We have the Sony 4K lens, which is used in our VW series. That's the VW 270, the 570, and the 760, which are our native 4K model range. And then we have the big Sony ARCF lens or ARC-F lens, the all-range crisp focus lens, which is used in our premium models, which are also native 4K, the 2200 lumen VW 870 and the flagship 5000 lumen VW 5000. So one of the important things to notice is that when you go up the lens range, the front lens diameter and the barrel width of the lens increases with the resolving power of the lens. Our 4K lens has been designed from the beginning to resolve 4K on screen. This is not always the case where other manufacturers of projectors utilize lenses from previous generations of projectors that may not have even been designed for 4K originally. So, in fact, when you compare our Sony 4K lens front element size or diameter versus other 4K projectors, you will notice the size difference. Another remark of quality you hear is that a lens is all glass and that the Sony lens is plastic and therefore not a high quality. In fact, it makes a sound. It makes it sound like it's made of a Coke bottle or something. But in fact, the Sony 4K lens has 14 lens elements, and the first 13 of which are glass, and the final front element is made of a material called an optical polymer. You may say that an optical polymer is just a fancy word for plastic, but it is actually a special material that is being used more and more in high quality lenses, as it has the same image quality of glass, but is much lighter, and you can make different shapes with it, which is important, and we'll get on to a bit later on. But before we get on to the shape of the lens, let's have a quick note on glass. Glass is used for many reasons in lenses, but two of them are heat and scratch resistance. Now, scratch resistance is not important for projectors. It would be in photography, but heat resistance certainly is. So, and that is why our Sony ARCF lens is an 18 element all glass lens, as it may have up to 5,000 lumens of light passing through it, and that generates a lot of heat. So glass is required. But for the Sony 4K lens, as it has a maximum of 2,000 lumens going through it with the VW 760, the front glass element does not get hot enough to require glass. So that's why we've chosen an optical polymer for this particular element. So for our 4K lens, we're using optical polymer, and the advantage with this is that we can make it a different shape, and the shape that has been chosen is an aspherical element. And aspherical elements have a big advantage when it comes to clarity on screen. So let's explain why aspherical elements are so important. So to explain that, let's first show you what happens with the typical lens shape, the spherical lens. Spherical lenses are simple to mass produce, but all spherical lenses cause a phenomenon known as spherical aberration. So to show you what this is, we'll pass light through the spherical lens, and as the light passes through the lens, at different points from center to the outer edge, you can see that the light at the edges arrives at different areas to the center of the lens. These are called focal points. In the center of the lens, these points are close enough to be imperceptible, but towards the edges, they move further apart, causing the image to become blurry and impossible to focus across the whole image. So the lens is then, or is therefore limited to a small area to which the focus is acceptable. And this is the issue with spherical lenses and the compromise with spherical lenses. Um, so now let's show you the same example, but with an aspherical lens, as with the front element of the Sony projector lens. An aspherical lens appears slightly squashed at the top and bottom compared to a spherical lens. And as the light passes through this lens, all the light from the center to the edges arrive at a single focal point. This means that a much greater area of the lens can be used for focus. This is why spherical elements are used in the highest quality lenses and why Sony utilized it with our 4K lens. It is possible to create a glass spherical element, but this has quite a large cost impact. So by utilizing this new material, optical polymer, we can offer the image quality benefits without making the lens cost prohibitive for the mass market. So to bring this all together, at Sony, we developed our 4K projectors to resolve 4K images on screen. And this leads our lens design too. With the Sony lens, you get a larger front element and a larger area of focus, allowing you to resolve 4K on screen, even when the large available lens shift is used both vertically and horizontally. Um, as always, not all 4K projectors and lenses are created equal, and competitor models often have smaller spherical lenses that have less area of focus, resulting in less clarity and less installation flexibility. But just one more thing before I leave you. To create a sharp image on screen takes more than just a great lens. It also takes excellent picture processing. And this is really Sony's forte. Sony is known for its picture processing and motion handling on its consumer displays. And we utilize common picture processing chips in our projectors. And Sony's home cinema projectors utilize our reality creation super resolution technology, which analyzes images right down to the pixel level. It uses powerful pattern matching algorithms developed over many years of movie production with our picture house, Sony Pictures, to enhance image clarity without increasing digital picture noise. This is the important thing. Anyone could sharpen an image, but it's knowing which areas to sharpen and which ones to enhance and which ones to leave alone. This picture processing can enhance not only your HD Blu-rays to near 4K quality, but also enhance 4K UHD sources via super resolution processing to make them look even better. So if you want to be amazed with proper large 4K, a large screen 4K, or you want your client to be, make sure to check out our native 4K panels, larger spherical lenses, and excellent image processing that's included in Sony 4K home cinema projectors.